Hey everyone, we're here with assistant coach at EARLHAM, Jeris. Jeris, how you doing today?
Good, Adam. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
How is the season going so far? Although you've only had one game and it didn't go as well as you had, but how's the season? How's the team looking?
Team's looking pretty good. We obviously have some stuff to correct after the loss, but as Coach Lee likes to say, what's good about game one is game two, and so we're looking forward to looking ahead to RIPBERGER College on Saturday and hoping for a win and hoping for improvements quickly.
Right, exactly. So talk a little bit about how you got to EARLHAM, why EARLHAM, and
basically I got here, EARLHAM College, I looked up local college teams and that was the first one to come up. I live just right down the road, about 20 minutes. I was supposed to coach high school ball at a local high school, but that kind of fell through. I actually sent Coach Johnson a message after his ESPN game day interview and feature aired, and we were talking back and forth after a while. I sent him a message in November, lost the job before the start of the following season at the high school gig, and we eventually got to talking, and he accepted my message, and it was so long. He messaged me back in May. It was so long that I was like, who is Coach Johnson, or who's Nick Johnson? And I completely forgot. I actually sent him a message, and he said, come on in, have a sit-down interview, and now I'm here. So that's how I ended up here. Kind of different, but glad I ended up where I did.
And so kind of give us a little bit of background on what you've faced growing up, your obstacle, and how you are breaking barriers in coaching.
Basically, I was born with cerebral palsy. If people aren't familiar with cerebral palsy, it affects my motor skills, mainly on my left-hand side. There's different variations of CP. I actually had a young man who I talked to on Friday night at a game that I was scouting in a wheelchair and unable to talk and things like that, so I just tried to communicate with him. But breaking barriers in the college game is very important. You see it a lot. You see it a lot of times. You see, everybody having these difficult backgrounds coming up.
Right.
And, I kind of relate to a lot of those, but I don't think that there's ever been a person who's coached college football that's had CP. So my thing was, I got bullied a lot in school. I never got to play sports, but I've loved football for as long as I can remember. So my main thing was, how can I learn to do this? How can I learn to, be a better coach, be a better person, and be a better mentor to these kids? And I think that's what sets me apart, is that I didn't play, but giving that advice and giving that extra, that extra step to be like, you need to get out here and do this, and be thankful for the opportunity to play football, because it's an honor to play out here. It's not a right to play out here, and the guys know that. But having a coach with CP, getting accepted by the guys, first thing when I came in here last year was important, and that followed into this year with the same amount of respect. But the barriers that I've broken, I think, need to show people that just because you have a medical diagnosis, I think it's important to realize that you can make a difference in this world, no matter if it's coaching or whatever it is. A medical diagnosis is all it is.
Yeah, exactly. So seeing and knowing you as good as I do, why football? How did you get into it? Why do you love the game so much? What's your inspiration?
Shout out to my dad. My dad played flag football for 15 years. He's been a Steelers fan since 1970, so that's 49 seasons. I basically was born into a football family and loving it, and I've been able to break down plays since I was 11 or 12. I've been able to basically, I know every player where they went to school, and I can break down schemes and things like that. And just any nook and cranny of football knowledge that could go into my brain did. And I was actually named after a Washington Redskins player back in the 80s. Jeris, he actually won a Super Bowl. So for me, it's just kind of like, I was born into this. I was named after a football player. My dad got me into the game. My cousin Brad got me into the game a lot too, and that's that's a common ground that a lot of my cousins and I and my dad and I have in common, is that we love football so much. And me being out here and being the first coach in my family, you know, I always wanted to be out here. I always talked about it, always was supported. When my dad was the one that got me into football, my dad was the one who, you know, signed the papers for football camp back in 7th grade when I blew out both my knees. So, I mean, he's always been behind it 110%. So, really gracious that my dad introduced me to football at such a young age and a love for it at such a young age, because that's something that's never going to die within me, is my love for the game. So even though I can't play it, love being on the sidelines, and I'm glad that I can be a part of the game in any capacity that I can right now.
It's a great father-son bonding thing.
Absolutely.
Lots of dads and sons go to football. They watch football every Sunday, every Saturday.
Yeah, I'm basically on the couch with my dad every Sunday. So, and I mean, finally getting the chance to go to Pittsburgh this year and, you know, do all that, and just a father-son bonding experience. So shout out to my dad again for sure, because he's been the main focal point of this whole thing, the main supporter of this whole thing. So really appreciative of him and what he's done for me to get me up to this point. He still lets me live at home rent-free, so
It's always good.
thank God for my parents. That's all I gotta say.
Let's talk a little bit about where you are now. You graduated from IU East with your bachelor's in business, and you are doing your master's in coaching education now at Ohio University online.
Yep.
How is that going so far, and what's up with that?
I love it. Thankful for IUE and their, you know, building a character and building of a student who can go on to earn a master's degree. Really thankful for them. OU actually got a hold of me in certain capacities before I even applied. So that was kind of nice, and they're like, hey, come to they're the #1 school for coaching education degrees. And they said, hey, if you want to get to the next level, if you want to do better, if you want to learn more stuff, come here. Their thing was, you know, no GMAT, which
That's always a plus.
Yeah, I'm always like, that's a win right
That's
there.
always a plus.
So no GMAT, but you had to have 2 or more years of coaching. I'm the youngest one in my program right now by at least 7 years. The next youngest person to me is in their early 30s, ranging up to about the 50s or 60s for some of these people. And I'm the one with the least amount of coaching experience going into year 2. There's one lady in there that's like, yeah, I coached soccer for 12 years. Yeah, one person does, you know, ballroom dancing, basketball, football, field hockey, just anything. I'm the only one in there who, you know, is in their 20s and trying to get into the business quick. So a lot of respect there. I love going there. I love academics. Academics is very important in my family. You can't play sports, you better be smart, right? So you can't play sport. You can't play any sports. My mom made learning fun from a young age. She actually still helps me study for some of my grad school stuff. So really gracious for that, but really gracious for the opportunity that OU has given me and this pathway that I'm getting. Everything's going good. GPA staying up, which is a lot when you got to be here, do classwork, and then still hold a part-time job as
Exactly,
well.
right. So any coach, college, NFL, whatever division, who do you look up to? Who do you try to emulate? Who do you try to style your coaching style after? Anything like that?
I'm a big SEC guy. I have all respect for all these coaches. NFL-wise, I love Mike Tomlin. To go out of the box a little bit, Sean McVay being the youngest coach in the NFL, but the Rams,
Right. What, 31 years old?
30,
Yeah.
got hired at 30. He's just
Yeah.
now 32. He's from the Dayton area, so he was born where I'm, you know, real close to where I'm at. So really look up to him as, you know, this is the guy I'm trying to reach. If I'm in the NFL as a head coach by 30, I'll be amazed. But still, that's a nice goal to shoot for, you know.
It's reachable. It's definitely doable.
Obviously, I'm a big Joe Moorhead guy, Mississippi State head coach. I like Brian Kelly. I like, as much controversy as this gets, I do like Jim Harbaugh. You know, his coaching style of being a former player, You know, he's come from that. Nick Saban being a guy. I could have picked just one. I think this is the hardest question. Jeremy Pruitt, who's now the head coach of Tennessee, he was at Alabama. His story is inspirational. He was actually, 20 years ago, he's plumbing houses to get a paycheck. Then he was a school teacher to be a coach. Then Nick Saban called him. He went to Alabama. Been to Alabama, went to Georgia, Florida State. He's won 4 national titles. I mean, that's just an inspiration for me. And now he's at the college that I root for and things like that. I like Bill Snyder. If you want to go a little bit farther back, I'm a big Lou Holtz guy. Ground and pound the football. I mean, he had Jerome Bettis, so you had no excuse to not ground and pound the football back in that day. But
it's Lou Holtz.
Yeah, exactly.
What better can you get there?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I look up to Will Muschamp. I look up to Dan Mullen. NFL only name one guy, Mike Shanahan. If you want to go defensive side of the ball, Wade Phillips is always a good choice. That's my defensive mindset. I like the coaching staff here. Coaching staff actually at EARLHAM is real knowledgeable. Coach Lee's been at this thing for 30 plus years. So his knowledge of the game, whenever I have a question, he's just a few steps away and he answers any question that I have. Coach Johnson, real helpful. Coach Spurge, Coach Southall, just everybody that I walk up to and have a question for, they always have an answer. They always have an answer about schemes. They always have an answer about whatever. As far as schemes, as far as my coaching thing goes, I like a 4-3 defense, but Coach Lee has taught me to love, his schemes and his way of doing things and showing me a different way because I'm like, oh, 4-3 works better. Well, here's the way that my defense can work, and it's basically the same thing. So for that, I learn a lot from that. And offensively, I like the spread offense. And spread offense always works. It just does. I like ground and pound. I like run and shoot. I like just anything. But I mean, I'm a defensive guy, so I just like to blitz and hit people. I mean, that's just
who doesn't?
Exactly. Who doesn't like to call blitz? But I mean, that's just me, and those are my inspirations. At least a handful. I don't really get into it too much because we'll be here all day talking about my coaching influences and things like that.
You're good. All right, so let's fast forward 4 to 5 years down the road. You've completed all your coaching requirements. Money and location is not an issue. Where is your dream job? College or NFL? Where would you go and why?
You're putting me on the spot, man. You're putting me on the spot because you don't know who's going to see this and be like, this dude's aiming for my job. But honestly, as far as program stability, recruiting, just everything at my disposal, you have to look at places like Ohio State. You have to look at Michigan, Alabama, Tennessee. My dream job would obviously be, down at the University of Tennessee where, honestly, man, I could be an assistant down there, I could be a coordinator, I could be an eventual head coach. I'd be happy just to be down there. Because I think what Jeremy Pruitt has in place, right now they didn't really show it at the beginning, but next year they already have a top 5 recruiting class coming in, and they're just getting started on next year's recruits, and they're already getting guys signing the letter of intent and committing, and I just buy into that whole thing. So Jeremy Pruitt's a guy that I would really like to work for, even though it's a lot of stuff that's happened. Urban Meyer, I'd like to work for. Jeff Brom at Purdue, Chris Peterson at Washington. I mean, honestly, I'm just one of those guys that's like, here's your dream job, you got to shoot for it. My dream job is anything in Division I NCAA college football. Like that, honestly, when it boils down to that, if University of Idaho comes along and says, hey, here's a coordinator job and an assistant job, I'm going to take it.
You just kind of have to go where the money is and who offers you a spot. I mean,
yeah, you gotta go where you're wanted.
Exactly.
And I think that's the most important thing. You don't get into college you don't get into college sports for the cash.
Right.
You really don't. It's all about building young guys up, making better men, husbands, fathers, and football players all in the same swoop. try to teach them everything that you know about life and help them any way that you can. That's why I love it here, because these guys take to me like they didn't have to, and they still chose to do it. And I think that comes back to the whole disability thing. They're not nice to me because I'm just their coach, or I have a disability. They've never seen me that way. So I think that makes a huge difference as far as, you know, what they'll listen to, and, you know, I'm approachable. They come up to me, they talk to me. I have an open text policy. If you need me, let me know. So basically, to round back, dream job would be anywhere where I'm wanted, and that's basically what it is. If I get paid minimal money, but I get to love what I do, that's okay. I mean, I've been pretty much, I grew up in a rural area, so I've been broke my whole life. So money's not a factor. I just want to coach football for the rest of my life.
Exactly, that's awesome. Just to kind of wrap things up here, what do you say to the younger kids that maybe have CP or another disability that want to do what you're doing or something similar? What advice or what do you tell them to keep them going to get to the place they want to be?
There's always going to be doubters, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. There's always going to be people that say you can't do it. Family, teachers, kids you went to school with. I've been in those shoes. I've been in that scenario. So for me to tell these kids, or you don't even have to have a disability. If you just need something to keep going, if the only person who believes in you is yourself, trust that instinct 110%. No matter what you're dealing with, no matter what challenges you might go through, I struggle every day to get out of bed sometimes.
Don't we all?
Yeah, don't we all? Me a little bit more. I know people have it worse than me. I know there's a lot of people who have a lot of issues and have a lot of family stuff going on, but me waking up out of bed and potentially collapsing on the floor or losing my balance, or you know, doing whatever, and it's just like I just want to stay in bed. Don't quit, don't give up on yourself and your dreams. You're not doing this for anybody else but yourself, and I think that's the main goal, and you just have to believe. Have faith in yourself, because at the end of the day, that's all you have. Girlfriends, boyfriends, significant others, parents, whatever, who's ever, you know, against you, you're always going to have that. So it's important to keep a positive mindset. It's important to always have yourself, and it's important to always keep a positive mind, because at the end of the day, everybody else can leave, but it's you and your job, and that's why I went to school. Nobody can take my degrees away from me. Nobody can take that knowledge away from me. Nobody can take this coaching knowledge away from me. So at the end of the day, whoever leaves, leaves. And you just have to be mentally tough through it all. And I think that's my message. Be tough and never give up on yourself.
It's a great message. Do you have any other final thoughts you'd like to share?
Final thoughts. Come out to the EARLHAM games, man. Show support, and looking forward to getting some wins this season. So thank you for the people who came out and supported against Wilmington. We're going to need that tenfold, you know, these next few home games and throughout the year. So always show support for this football team. They deserve it. They work really, really hard to put out a good game, a good showing, a good product for these people. So come out and show support and go Quake.
All right, Jeris, thank you
Adam,
for your time.
Thank you, man.
Come out and support EARLHAM this Saturday. I've been a friend of Jeris for 5 years now. He loves football. He's very passionate, and the coaching staff works hard.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks a lot.